I just had the best time talking with the food allergy moms. So you can find them at foodallergymom.com. And then on Instagram, they're food allergy moms. So Lauren actually started the blog, and they both write for the blog. And it's so good. You got to check it out. And this video is all about hope for families and parents that are dealing with kiddos that have food allergies. We talk a lot about just some of the things that we've been through, what would have been helpful to know in the beginning, and then also just some of the things that we've done, the triggering and the trauma and the healing, but also it's a very hopeful conversation. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. I'm Dr. Kelli Ritter, and just bringing all kinds of things, mind, body, and soul, hopefully helpful to people. So if you are inclined, if you like the video, please hit the like button and leave us comments. And also, if you haven't already, if you would subscribe to my channel, that is very helpful. So thank you for being here and happy healing. Awesome. Okay. Wonderful. So Katie and Lauren, I'm so excited to talk to you because I love your content on the Allergy Mom. So it's all at theallergymom.com. Great content there. And then the Allergy Moms, right?
Yes.
On Instagram.
Yes.
Because we're all allergy moms. And so I am just wanting to share as much as possible. So usually I'm in the health and wellness space, and we don't really talk a whole lot about allergies with our kiddos, and kind of what sparked me is some of your posts and how much it resonated with me as a mom. It's just like, oh, if this had been available when my kiddos were little, this would have been so helpful, because you just feel so alone.
Yes.
And so it's really great content, and I wanted to help spread the word.
Oh, well, thank you.
We're
happy
not
to
alone.
be here.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I thought we could start with some brief intros. So I'll do an intro, and I'll, make sure people know how to find your website and all that, but just some little who we are and how we became allergy moms.
Yes.
The kiddos that brought us to this place.
Yes.
Yeah. So who wants to start?
I can jump in. So I'm Lauren. Yes, it's nice to be with all of you as fellow food allergy moms, or maybe you're not a food allergy mom, but you just want to learn, because there are so many kids. There are so many kids now who have this. I think the latest is 5.6 million just in the United States. It's about 1 in 13 kids. It's about 2 for every classroom is what they're saying now. So you talking about like not being alone. Yes, like you're not alone. You're in the company of literally millions of other people and families in the United States. I became a food allergy mom with my oldest, my firstborn, when he was just an 8-month-old baby. I had noticed eczema pretty much the whole time that we had him. And that doesn't always mean food allergy, but it can. And so our pediatrician at the time had kind of given us a heads up on that, and actually gave us homework. You know how you're in the doctor like every 5 minutes with a baby, like it's like so we have this 6 months to the 9 months, and in between those 2 appointments, she wanted us to introduce peanut butter at home. But she had told us that she wanted us to do it on the cheek, which, by the way, she has since redacted this advice. So those of you listening, this is not correct. This is just what our experience was and what she had told us to do. And so we did. We went home, and at about 7 months, 8 months, we put a little dot right here, and his face just erupted in hives. And we're first time parents. We're totally freaked out. Luckily, it didn't progress further than that. But then following, this was on a Saturday, of course. And so we were able to get on the phone with a nurse. If he had ingested it, they wanted us to call 911. Luckily, he had not eaten any. And so we were able to resolve it at home, but they had us in the doctor first thing Monday for some testing, and we got the results back.
So. Yeah. And you have another child too?
Yes. I have 2. Yeah. So I have a boy and a girl. So my oldest is my boy and my youngest is my girl. And when she was 6 months, I was making the banana puree. I was doing food introduction, which is so fun. And I really loved making all the baby food. So I just pureed her. I literally blended up a banana, and she was going to have bananas. And we went over there. My husband was actually feeding her. And within a few minutes, her face, just my kids, both red streaks up the face, kind of like tiger stripes, that red, just blotchy red up the face. And then, you know how babies, they drop the food kind of down into the fold of their neck.
Mhm.
So where that puree had been on her neck, it was just angry hives. And so
Yeah.
we wound up, we already had an allergist because of my son. So we were able to get in rather quickly. They want you to wait a little bit of time so that the tests aren't messed up from the histamine reaction. But they got us in and they had us run the peanut, tree nut because of my son, and then egg and dairy, and then banana for her skin panel. Every single one was negative except the banana. The banana was like a large wheel, and our allergist was like, I'll be darned, she's actually allergic to banana. She actually thought, are you sure you weren't cooking eggs or
Right.
something? And I was like, no, I'm such a freak about cross contact because of my son. Like, it was just a banana. And she's like, oh my goodness, she's allergic to bananas. So they're in the latex family, I
Yeah.
learned. So some of you listening, you might be familiar with that. Kiwi, banana, avocado, latex all have similar proteins. And so the things you learn as a food allergy mom.
I know, the things you never thought you would learn that
Never
you
thought. I
learned.
sound much smarter than I am. I just had to learn a lot of this stuff. So
Yeah, I totally get that. So Katie, what about you? You've got two kiddos too, right?
I do. My daughter is my oldest, and then my son is my youngest, and they both have food allergies. My daughter was similar to Lauren's son. The first allergen we were diagnosed with was a peanut allergy after eating peanut butter. Our situation was a bit different. My daughter had been eating peanut butter a handful of times before she actually reacted to it. And then she was diagnosed a few months later with a sesame allergy. And then my son was diagnosed with an egg allergy.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's fun times in the house when these. So I mean, it just is bringing back memories, which I could cry because I know what all that feels like when it's happening and it's scary. So yeah, I have a 20-year-old with a tree nut allergy. So he was my first introduction, and then a 17-year-old with a peanut allergy. And my 17-year-old has lots of allergies, like all the outdoor stuff.
Yes.
Pretty much, like when he's playing football, he'll stand up and he looks like, what's that movie with Katniss where they have
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games with the welts all over them, and you're like, what is you rolling? What have you been in? Where are the peanuts? Like, it's just, so when it first happens, how scary that can be. And with our oldest, so we were at Whole Foods and my husband had him in the cart and he's wheeling around and he gave him a little piece of a cookie that apparently had tree nuts. And so as we were checking out, the guy checking us out, the cash register guy said, he don't look very good. He looks like he's going to throw up. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, I think he's fine. And then of course he started throwing up when we got in the car. And he swells. So he looks like he's been in a boxing match with all the swelling. So yeah, we figured that out, and you start to learn and you go through all the testing. And then my youngest had a teeny bit of something that had peanut butter in it.
Yeah.
So we knew that at 1, and we went through all of that. And then someone at school in the nut-free school gave him a peanut butter filled pretzel. His friend gave him that. So the teachers didn't notice because it's a nut-free school. So they just didn't know. And so by the time I picked him up, he had hives. And he's not one, he doesn't swell. His hives are from the neck down. But he goes into respiratory distress and the anaphylaxis and the whole thing. So yeah. So when I look at your posts and I'm reading the blogs, I'm like, oh yes, I can so resonate with all these things. And then how your whole world changes. Because now you're reading everything, and even if you weren't hyper vigilant before, you're now pretty hyper vigilant as a mom. And so I'm guessing I know why you created the foodallergy.com so people could have it. But I'll just go ahead and tell me, because y'all were both teachers. Did you know each other before this?
We didn't. No.
Oh, so tell me how this got started.
So the blog is actually Lauren's brainchild, and
Okay.
I'll let her tell you more about that in a minute. But we have been friends for a little over a year now, and we found each other actually on one of our Facebook groups. They have a lot of support groups for moms online. And that's how I found her. I just realized, like, I really need a friend who understands what I'm going through. I didn't have anyone my age. None of my friends were dealing with food allergies. No one knew what it was like to raise a child with medical issues. And so I just hopped online. I said, is anybody in my area? Can you please let me know? And Lauren happened to see it at just the perfect moment, and she was the only one who responded to me.
Oh, I
And
got
the rest
goosebumps.
is just beautiful history.
Yeah. So you do live close to each other?
Yes.
We live in the same city.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah. And I just want to emphasize too, like this particular group that we're in has like 23,000 people in it. And so there's a lot of activity, a lot of posts. And Katie's post, it was one of those, like there wasn't any interaction with it. And so the algorithm would have just shoved it down. And what was interesting for me is, you know, I'm a person who prays, and I actually had never like thought to pray for a friend, food allergy mom friend who really would understand. And so I had started doing that for a few months, like as a part of my prayer life. And then I'm on my phone one day and this pops up and it's Katie saying, is anybody in our city? And I was like, yes. And normally I don't like want to meet friends online. I get freaked out like meeting these strangers. But Katie and I met up at the park, and our kids are the same age, and it's been such a gift. So
Oh, I love that. I love it, love it, love it. And so at some point, so Lauren, you had already started the blog by
yeah,
then?
I had been doing some writing just for me, just like to get it out. And I was looking at it and thinking about it, going, you know, I bet you there's a whole lot of other moms that I'd put together. The very first thing I wrote was the top 8 resources for food allergy moms. Because I was just thinking, if somebody could have just handed this to me when I, you know, I'd left the allergy clinic that first day, how much easier that would have been. It's like, I didn't know about FAIR. I didn't know, you know, a lot of these just things that have become such a resource for me. Had no clue, had to find them on my own. And when I was Googling, there wasn't anything kind of compiled like that. So I just started pulling stuff together, and that was the first thing that I wrote. And I started writing a little bit more. And then I'd only known Katie like, I don't know, 2 months. And we were out for a coffee or whatever. And I'm sitting there and I was like, so I want to write a blog, but I want you to do it with me. I want to rope you into this, Katie, basically. And she thought it was a great idea. So we put our heads together and came up with the Food Allergy Mom.
And of course, it's a great idea. Do you want to say anything else about that, Katie?
No, I'm just super thankful that I had the opportunity to do this with her. She's amazing. And just being able to talk with other moms, I really think Lauren talks a lot about like our friendship is so special, and then being able to share it with other people. I really do think that that's just an incredible sentiment that we lose sometimes when we're doing the daily life and just the daily grind of everything we have to do besides just food allergies. And so many moms out there feel alone and have voiced that, as Lauren and I have done with this blog and our Instagram page. We just hear from so many moms that they feel incredibly alone. And so I think that that's just a beautiful part of what we get to do, is share this friendship with other people who need to know. I'm not the only one.
Well, yeah. So you're building camaraderie in the you know, because people comment, and so that's amazing. But I love your friendship. That's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful story, because I never thought to pray for an allergy mom friend or even ask. Like,
I know.
I mean, like, it's just like,
know.
oh, I could have done that. Because I was just navigating it in my world. And I, of course, had the husband that was like feeding the kid Cheerios the day after we were in the ER. And I'm like, what's in that? And he's like, there's a nut in that. I'll give you $100. He's fine, you know? And I'm like, oh my, like, are you kidding?
Right.
Like,
right.
Okay, you're gonna have to get on board here, Dad. I mean, of course he has. He's not as upset as I am. Like, I will see a peanut in somebody's yard. Like, I can see that they've been feeding the squirrels or the birds or something, and I get really like upset. Like I don't let the dog near it. We don't get near it. We move to the other side of the street.
Yeah.
And so it's just to have, even if it's online community, like, but to have a real friend is like in your neighborhood, kind of awesome.
Well, and to really feel understood. I mean, so many of these moms, they have friends, but they don't have friends who understand why you're walking across the street because you see a peanut shell in the grass. Do you know what I mean? And I remember going to the park with Katie the first time we met up, and she had her backpack with her EpiPens in it. Okay. And she's washing her kids' hands, and she's checking for food on the playground. And it was actually a little bit emotional, where I was like, there is another mom who is doing a lot of the same things that I'm doing, who's thinking a lot of the same things that I'm thinking, has the same concerns that I have, is trying to figure out how to do birthday parties and how to do play dates and what do you do for preschool and and all of these very similar questions that a lot of my friends whose kids do not have food allergies, it's just not something that is a part of their day to day. And I'm so happy for them that it's not, but it is for ours. And so they're not sitting there going, yeah, I don't know how to take my kid to a birthday party. It's just not a question. They just go to the party. And so to have Katie sitting there with her little backpack and her EpiPens in it, it's like, I almost cried. I mean, just to really feel understood by somebody else. And that's something that we really wanted to bring when we created the blog, even if we can't be in person, that these moms actually feel like, oh my goodness, there's another mom who's freaking out about the holidays and going to family gatherings in a few weeks and just wondering a lot of the same things that we're wondering. Yeah.
And the writing is really good on the blog, and the videos on Instagram are also very entertaining. So it's not, and I think it's very hopeful. So what do you think that you hear a lot, if there's, as we talked about, the list that you can print of the most important things to know when you first get a diagnosis or you realize that you've got a food allergy? What else might have been helpful at the beginning, maybe, that y'all hear a lot?
EpiPen training.
Yeah, I was just
EpiPen training.
Right, that it expires.
So many things. So Katie actually wrote a wonderful post called 6 Things That Nobody Ever Told Us About EpiPens.
Yep.
And so we put our heads together on that one because these were things that we were months into being food allergy moms, and these were things that we didn't know. So for example, that they're temperature sensitive, right? And so you can't like leave it in the car on a 90-degree day and think that it's going to be fine, that it does expire every year and that you need to get new ones. I mean, just there's different types of injectors. I thought they all looked the same, but there's the AviQs and the EpiPens and they, how do you work them, where to actually inject them, all of these things. And Katie put together that post, and that would have been one where if I would have left the allergy clinic with, something about that. I mean, we talked to the pharmacist, but it was basically, here you go. You put it in the thigh and call 911. I mean, it's just...
Which is terrifying too, because you're leaving with this like needle thing that you're supposed to carry.
I have no idea how to use it. Yep.
And carrying 2. Nobody ever told me to carry 2.
Yes,
together.
That was one we didn't know.
Didn't know that.
Yes.
My husband and I thought, okay, you take one and I take one.
Right.
I mean, that's what we thought.
Yeah. One in the school bag, one in my purse, one in,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. My husband and I did the same thing. We each took one for a long time. I would say probably we were 5 months in before we realized, here's why we need 2 EpiPens. And after we put that blog post out there and did some Instagram reels with information, we heard from a ton of moms.
Yeah.
And there were moms who thought like it's okay to EpiPen in the neck. Or,
oh my.
Yes.
I can't even imagine that. But
right.
Right. And we'll have moms that will get EpiPens in the mail or from their pharmacist, and they're not even good for an entire year. Like they're only good for 5 to 6 months, and then they have to refill the prescription. So I think there's a lot of information out there to know about EpiPens and to always check the expiration date. Are you getting a full year out of it? And our pharmacist has been amazing. Our pharmacist actually showed us like taking off just the cap, and how most EpiPens will have a training one.
Yes.
And they'll record for you all the things. They have a recording that you can listen to. And so that was really nice. And to be able to see the the clear medication, there's a little window on each EpiPen to be able to view to see if the medication is cloudy, if it's discolored at all. So all of that information would have been really helpful to have as we were.
And the fact that we've had to find it online and talking to each other. And again, I love pharmacists. You guys are doing a great job. It's nothing to do with that. It's just, there's a real education, I think, need for this medication. I think for, caregivers, teachers, coaches, like there's a real opportunity for more people to be aware and more people to really understand how to use it, when to use it, what are the signs. And I think that besides just some general resources would have been the number one thing I would have said I really needed in the beginning.
Right. Well, and I left the allergist without knowing. So even to have, if you end up like some of us, we end up at the ER first or at your pediatrician or whatever. So then to be able to have some resources, so you even know what to ask when you're at the allergist, or when they ask you, what kind of EpiPen do you want? And you're like, I don't know, the one that works. I don't know. Because the AubiQ is really great. It's easier to carry when the kids are older. They can carry that more easily than the like a big EpiPen thing. So, to just be able to ask things like that, you wouldn't know. And even though we've seen some great allergists, like they didn't tell us a lot.
For that reason, we actually created a post, 10 questions to ask your allergist because of that exact reason. Is I remember that first appointment, I'm in there like, it's so overwhelming. I mean, you're freaked out. You don't, especially if you have no familiarity with food allergies, like the majority of us moms really had no, awareness or experience with this prior to our kids being diagnosed. And so you're sitting in there and it's like they're blasting you with a fire hose. You're emotional, you're upset. I mean, it's a lot to take in. And so if somebody would have handed me like, here, ask these 10 things when you're in there, it would have been really helpful. And so that's the thinking behind a lot of the posts that we've written is, what did I need in that moment? Right. And could we offer that to another mom?
Yeah. And that community, because I didn't think I needed the community. But it sure is nice. That would have been nice to have in the beginning. I think it's also, it's good to know that it does get easier. It's not, it's going to be okay. But some things aren't going to get easy. Like you're still going to get scared at times, but just in general, more, you learn more, you won't be as overwhelmed at one point.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I think
especially those of you mom. Oh, go ahead, Katie. No, go ahead, Katie.
I think one of the most helpful things that was said to me in one of my food allergy mom groups after we were diagnosed was a veteran allergy mom had responded to a question I was asking, and she had told me it doesn't get easier, but it gets more manageable.
That's
with
better.
All this information that you get, like at some point you will build your confidence, you will have a better understanding of all these different aspects that feed into living life with severe food allergies. And so I think that's really helpful to keep in mind. And Lauren's right. It is like you're drinking from a fire hose. Yes, and when you're in that initial meeting with your allergist, you are either numb or you're feeling all the things. And for me personally, my brain kind of shut down and I was having a really hard time understanding what this actually meant. And so like a couple days later, I'm online in the middle of the night and now I'm freaking out because I'm terrified of all of the information that I read. And I was like, I should have asked more questions. And so you call back you call your allergist back asking all these things. But I think I agree with Lauren. If someone had just handed me a brainless something to where I didn't have to think, and here's a list of questions to ask, get some of these answers when you're in your first appointment, I think it reduces anxiety a lot. Yeah,
because it's very anxiety provoking. Yes. And I was just like, all these memories are flashing in my head right now. I'm like, oh yeah. And just because we thought when we did the skin test, my youngest is allergic to so many things that even the skin test can make him look like he's allergic. So then you have to wait for the IgE, blood work and all that. But it looked like he was allergic to corn. And so I left going, oh, okay, well, we'll avoid corn, like whatever. Oh my God, corn
right?
is in everything.
It's in everything.
So like you, Katie, I'm up in the middle of the night, like I'm leaving going, okay, well, I mean, we'll figure it out. We figured out peanuts and everything else. We'll just, add corn to the list. And then you realize like what you're talking about. And so I was freaking out for a bit too. And then, I'm ordering all these things online. Like, just, okay, you need to like calm down.
Yeah. Well, and to that end, that's another thing that was part of the steep learning curve, is really understanding how our food is made and what the manufacturing processing is like and what the label reading is like. I did not read food labels before my kids were diagnosed. I opened a bag of chips and I ate it. That was the extent of my thinking about the food. And because I didn't have to. And so now we read the labels, and first of all, I'm absolutely so grossed out at what's in our food. Let me just start by saying that.
Right.
So you kind of have more of an awareness of like, do I want to eat this? I don't know.
Exactly. Like, what have we been feeding
Right.
everybody? Yeah.
Like, exactly. But then the second part is when you actually see the inconsistency in the labeling. And so understanding what is required to be on the label versus what's actually voluntary for companies to put on the label. Meaning if it's voluntary, that means it's unregulated. And so you have, people get confused by may contains or may contain traces of, or shared lines or shared facilities or nut free, or what does that really mean? Nut free doesn't mean produced on nut free equipment. So, I mean, it's just like, there's a lot of nuances to our labeling here in the United States that is, I think, incredibly challenging for food allergy families. And that, what I'm talking about, is just the stuff that's required to be on the label. That's top 8, soon to be top 9 allergens, with adding sesame to the requirements. But when you're managing a top 8 allergen like corn or like sesame until it's changed, or some mustard, celery, some of these other ones that are starting to emerge, sunflower is another one.
Yeah.
Starting to see more of that. It's even more challenging because they can be on the label under different names, or they could just be in spices or natural flavors, like my daughter with banana. They like to sweeten a lot of baby foods with banana because it's just an easy sweetener. And so if it says natural flavors in there, that I would have to check that, because they don't have to just tell me that there's bananas in this. So that was another thing that we really wanted to break down for moms. Not that we're experts, but just in reading the labeling laws and trying to explain in plain language to other moms, like, this is what this label actually means. And then having, the conversation with your allergist on, all right, then what, based on my kid's needs, do we need to do with that information?
Right. And, the PA even at the allergist was like, well, I guess you'll just have to stick to, ketchup or something. I'm like, you realize there's corn in ketchup, right? Like, so even don't expect that you're getting even really helpful information sometimes from the people who are supposed to know. So, and I love that your group just makes me feel less crazy, because I'm that mom that's like calling the manufacturers going, no, what's in it?
Yeah.
We realized when I thought we had a corn allergy too, my son had just had shoulder surgery. And I was like, what are the anchors made of? The anchors that they put in the thing. And so, the surgeon doesn't know. I was like, I'm having to call the manufacturer of the things that are now in his body.
What is this? Yeah.
And I never even thought about it.
No.
Like, it wasn't a peanut, so we were good. I didn't realize that we were dealing with a lot of other things. It's just so much that you learn too. Like, my youngest, the peanut allergy kid, had a weird reaction to mesquite flavor. And I didn't realize there's, because peanut, there's some sort of, maybe a protein that's similar or something in the mesquite. I don't know, but there's just so many things you learn that you didn't want to learn. I don't want to know this stuff.
Well, even you mentioning the non-food items, that was another thing that really became apparent that we were going to have to check. So for Katie, for example, I was going to have her kids were going to come over to play, and I had bought my kids a stamping kit. And so they had been like stamping stuff, and, they had gotten it on some of the play toys and whatever. And I try to keep, our home safe for Katie's kids as well. So I'm mindful of their allergens and kind of what we're doing in our house so that they have a safe place to come and play. And Katie's like, well, stamp pads can have sesame in it, like sesame oil.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
'cause
I'm like flipping out because now I'm going to need to like, I'm going to call a professional carpet cleaner. I'm going to like literally disinfect and wipe off every single thing in this playroom so that, you know, her daughter can come over and play. And I called the company and I asked, and they were very nice, but luckily it didn't have the sesame oil in it. But it's just like we're calling about stamp pads.
right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like we have to, because that we have to understand what's in pretty much everything that we're interacting with: chapstick, makeup, sunscreen. I mean, things that you just shampoo, conditioner.
Right.
My daughter has
Toilet
these beautiful
paper.
curls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like stuff you just would never think of that
We
prior.
heard actually from another mom this week
Oh yeah.
on our Instagram. She had a kiddo she has a kiddo who has a sesame allergy as well, who recently reacted to Band-Aids because the
Band-Aids.
Oh yeah.
ingredients in the
Yeah.
Band-Aids changed. And so,
Oh.
I mean, our family, we have several rules around food, but one of them is like, we don't ever use anything unless we call the manufacturer first. And if it goes on if it touches your body or if it goes inside your body in any way, it has to be checked. Just no exceptions. So I totally understand you talking about your son and his surgery. That would have been my first question
Yep.
too. Like, what is that made out of? Where was it produced?
Yeah.
All of those questions are so important.
Right. And not like that's not something anybody was looking at when we
No.
first were starting. You know, my brain
Yeah.
immediately went to how, you know, how to keep him safe. And so, but I love that you keep each other's house, you keep your houses safe for the other's kids. I mean, that's just so nice, because that is just so hard. And I'm thinking of some times that I think I might have possibly overreacted slightly. But you don't want to underreact. So I just wondered if you
Right.
had some examples of where you might have
We have so
overreacted
many
and
examples.
So many.
maybe felt a little embarrassed afterwards because you realized it was actually okay, but you weren't sure. Like the stamps, like
I
don't know. That's not embarrassing, but
I think that Lauren and I really help each other. At least I feel like we help each other not be embarrassed or just aware because this is crazy making. If you are all by yourself and you don't have somebody else who understands the day-to-day work it takes to keep your children safe, and just the things we don't know, most people don't have to think about. You do not have to think about if your doctor prescribes penicillin to your child for a sickness. Most people don't go check the medication and have the pharmacy run down all the manufacturing information. We have to do that. So I think for Lauren and I, we really lean on each other when these things happen, when scary things happen to us, because we just know like this is normal for us. And so, but I guess I don't ever feel embarrassed around Lauren, but when I'm with other people and they don't know, like there have been times I have like 2 family events that I've been to where I think surprised people in how I reacted, and I don't feel like I was crazy or anything. But for example, we were at a birthday party one time and they were serving chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A, and they're fried in peanut oil. And I just didn't want to take the chance. I know a lot of people with peanut allergies can eat peanut oil, but there's a lot of information out there on there. There's a lot of different opinions on that. And some people report that they react to that. And I just didn't want to take the chance. So my child had her own safe food. We had our whole get up, but she was 3 and she leaned over and she grabbed a grape off of another child's plate that had been touching the chicken nuggets. And I immediately grabbed it out of her hand. And I mean, I didn't yell at her, I didn't embarrass her or anything like that. So I don't feel like I had anything to apologize for in how I reacted. But people were pretty surprised. And one person in particular told me that I was overreacting, that it was fine. She hadn't eaten it. And I just shouldn't have reacted the way that I did. And I, of course, was in disagreement with that, because the reality is it's a life-threatening medical condition, and I'm just not willing to take the chance.
Amen. And but I'm remembering sometimes too. Lauren, do you have any that come to mind that you
I
wanted
had
to
one.
share?
I was thinking of one where like my cheeks actually got like hot. I just felt like really embarrassed because I I think those moments for me happen when I truly don't know what I'm supposed to do in a situation, and I feel less confident that I need to advocate in that moment or I don't need to advocate in that moment. And that's hard to navigate. In this particular situation, I had taken the kids to the pool and there's like a splash pad area for the little ones. And I look and, now that I'm hyper vigilant, I'm aware of what everybody is eating at any given time in any social setting that we are in. Like I kind of like scan now. It's weird. I can kind of go, oh, they're eating whatever over there. Like I don't even think about it. I just do it. And I'm at the pool and I notice these two moms, they've got like 6 kids between the two of them. They're all little and every single one of them is eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh God.
And all of you with kids know that kids are super clean eaters, right? So the peanut butter, it's like, I can see it. It's on the kids' faces. It's on their hand. I mean, they're little and they're eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So these two, they're not doing anything wrong. Like we cannot rid the world of peanut butter and jelly. And, I totally get it. However, this is not a huge like space and we're all going to go play in the same splash pad on the same equipment that's in 3 inches of water. And so in my head, I'm going, it's not even like 1 kid, it's like 6. And I'm by myself. I'm with my kids trying to figure out, do I need to ask them just to like wipe up or something? Or do I just leave it alone because there's already water here? And I truly didn't know. I actually still don't know what I should have done in this situation. But I was kind of like, I feel uncomfortable. And so if they're all going to come into the water, like maybe I'll just go ask these moms to just help me out. Like maybe I'll do that. So I go over there with my kids and I actually like brought my son's EpiPen for like proof, I guess, of the severity of the situation. I'm like holding it awkwardly and I walk over to them and I just said, hey, I so sorry to interrupt you guys. I'm just wondering if you could help me out. My son, they were like, oh yeah, what's up? I'm like, are those peanut butter and jelly? And they said, yes, they are. Is there an allergy? And so luckily these moms already had some awareness and so they were super nice about it. And I just said, yeah, for my son, it actually is life-threatening for him. Could you guys just do me a favor and just have the kids like wipe up before they get in the pool, just kind of wash hands and face and stuff. Super great. Totally not a problem. They actually were going to eat their sandwiches and leave anyway. So this wasn't like an issue, but I was just so nervous talking to them and I was a little bit shaky and I felt crazy. I literally felt like I am this crazy lady holding my son's pen at the pool, talking to this other family, like aware of what they're eating and now asking them to clean up.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I walked back over to our little wagon and I actually got like really hot in my cheeks and I felt the tears and just like how much I hate dealing with this and how much I hate that my son is going to like have to do this and have to ask people and advocate. I was so mad at allergies in that moment. Ooh, but I also felt so embarrassed, like, because I truly didn't feel confident. Did I need to ask them to do that? Did I not? And I think that's where a lot of the insecurity about it comes into play. I actually called Katie crying.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
I'm at the pool. Like she's like, okay, you did great. So, yeah. But yeah, it's hard. And I think for a lot of moms, probably similar feelings where am I crazy for asking in this moment? Am I not? And that's hard to navigate for sure.
It is. And I was just thinking about the times that I've been so angry at the allergy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember, so we had, the run, we were trying to figure some other allergies out and I was just really upset. And my kids are older and I'm still really upset that there is a food that could kill them.
I know.
Like, I know they both drive, one's in college, lots of things can happen, but it's a food that could kill them. And I just was so upset about it. And there were, it was actually shells it's usually these shells that get me. I don't know, but I was walking on the beach and somebody had left a pile of pistachio shells. Yeah,
we find them everywhere. I don't know why. Everywhere.
So I dropped to my knees and I am slamming like sand over the nuts. Like, I'm sure people are looking at me like something is seriously wrong with that lady. And I'm like pounding my fist on the sand, like, the world doesn't understand. There's just people like leaving their nut shells. Like it's
Right.
whatever they think, it's biodegradable or whatever. But I was just so mad. So I wasn't embarrassed. I mean, I probably should have been embarrassed, but I didn't know anybody at the beach. So, but just that feeling, I get that. There are other times like you, Katie, like at events where I am sure that I've seen, one time somebody said that Peyton was over at the cookies and I flung off this like shawl thing I had on, hit some lady, was like running, to get the EpiPen, and he wasn't eating a cookie. It was fine. But, and I know that the people were like, what is wrong with her? Like, just an allergy mom, just nothing to see
Just
here.
don't mind us. I know.
What
and
they
that
don't realize is that it's triggering, like your past trauma, your past concerns is being reactivated.
Yep.
Like the grief that you feel about your child's food allergy is being reactivated. So I think that's what a lot of people in a perfect world, if we could ask that of people, if you see a mom and she is upset, or in any scenario, but especially like a food allergy mom, if you see her reacting in a certain way, just didn't have enough grace to realize that there's more to this than meets the eye. There's an entire iceberg of feelings and emotions and trauma and memories, and everything is coming back up to the surface as they're trying to actively protect their kid and assess, is there danger in this situation right now?
Yeah. So thank you, Katie, for bringing us to trauma, because that's the main reason that I wanted to talk to you, because this stuff is so trigger, the things that trigger you, and you never, you don't expect it. That's the thing about triggers, and that this is a trauma that I don't think people understand. And so I don't think they wouldn't be compassionate. Like, I love, Lauren, that the ladies were nice. The moms were nice at the pool, but they could have just been not.
Yep.
And then you have to decide, then you're, are you going to leave the pool? Are you going to leave the party? Are you going to leave, which we have done that too. And then that just brings up other grief, right? And so now you're just sad, and then also triggered, and the trauma of it, when you don't know what's happening and you're trying to figure it out, I think it's a really important trauma. And that's why I think community is so important, because then you have other people to check these things out. But anything else y'all want to say about the traumatic experiences?
I think one of the things that is most challenging is when you've had these, you've experienced your child having a reaction. Katie's talking about how what that does is you have this, these previous experiences now, that those feelings that you get flooded again. And I experienced this just a couple of weeks ago. My daughter has really sensitive skin, as a lot of kids with allergies do. And she actually has a skin where if you, it's called something, but if you rub it at all, it just gets very red very easily. So there's just a lot of histamine. Dermatographia. Yeah. And so there's just a lot of histamine in the skin. And so what that does, though, is when you're an allergy parent and your child has reacted before, and you have seen the red skin and the hives, and then she's got a skin thing where she can give herself hives, has nothing to do with food. She can give herself red patches, has nothing to do with food. She had a rash a couple of weeks ago from a virus, and I was a wreck all week, because every time I would see the angry red, you're trying to quickly assess as a food allergy parent, is it this or is it food allergy? And if so, I have to respond quickly in that moment. And there is an immense amount of pressure for food allergy parents. And I hear moms talking about this a lot, like, okay, well, they threw up, so is it the food or do we have a stomach bug? I mean, it's very difficult when you've had these reactions and you're trying to then go, is this that reaction again? And if so, I need to quickly respond accordingly to our emergency action plan. And so even things like regular childhood illnesses, or you get back into that whatever mode that you go into to handle that emergency, and it is flooding and it is triggering. And I actually have to, like, when I know my kids, like, it's not a reaction, everybody's fine, we're okay. I have to go, like, for a walk. Like, it's literally at a physical level, the stress and the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, or go sit in the closet for a minute.
Yes. It's like after my
Yeah.
kids' first couple of reactions, and my kids don't know this, but like once I knew that they were fine and we were okay, I actually went to the bathroom. I physically got sick.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I
oh yeah.
mean, it's just, and I don't think a lot of people understand how physically stressful the responsibility is of being the one to quickly figure out what's going on and being responsible for the medical treatment then in that moment. Really is. It's an immense amount of pressure that I really did not understand
Yeah.
until my kids were diagnosed.
Yeah.
It's a huge responsibility. Lauren and I have talked a lot about this, and we're not just responsible for us. Like the impact, the consequences of our decision making does not directly impact us. It
Right.
impacts our children. And so when you are trying to make a medical decision, not just for yourself, but for your child, it's so much pressure. And every time I've had a scare, like you're hyper vigilant, you make sure everything is okay. And then similar to Lauren, I actually I walk out to a different room. I make sure my kids are okay. I walk to a different room and I call her and I just bawl my eyes out because she gets it. She understands. And there is a physical release that needs to happen, whether it's going for a walk or getting all the anxiety out of your body. Going, like if you, like Lauren got physically sick, I have to literally sob and get it out of my system so that I feel better. And you're releasing hormones, you're releasing all the stress that is just built up.
Yeah. The tears help. Ugh. So how do y'all nourish yourselves, since we're the ones that have to be so vigilant and watching everybody? What nourishes your body, mind, soul?
I think for me, it's assessing. Well, it's a couple things. I love going for walks and physical exercise. I actually started taking Taekwondo classes because it was like such a good physical release for me. Yes. And like my son is in Taekwondo. So now we practice together. It's like a fun bonding thing. But for me, it's actually time for me to step away. My husband's got the kids and I'm not on for like an hour, a couple of times a week. And that's huge to just be able to step away. I'm home with my kids full time. And so just to be able to, not that I don't want to be with them, but to not be responsible for an hour and to focus on something else has been huge for me. But then also evaluating, like, I think we feel a lot of pressure to introduce 100 million foods under the sun. And, like, there's a lot, like, if you don't do these things, then therefore you're not doing it right. Or you're not doing, if you don't go to this party, then I just think there's a lot of you should. And I'm trying to get better at being like, it's okay that we're not right now. So for me, I can't eat the peanut butter and the tree nut stuff right now. I can't do it. I have tried. I actually have some food anxiety around that right now. And I hate the stuff. If I could obliterate it from the planet, I would, because it could hurt my kid. So it's like, it used to be, that's what I ate, was PB&J.
Oh, I know. I mean,
legit
too, but not
Reese's,
Snickers,
all of it.
I know. No.
And I literally can't eat it. And I know there are people are like, you need to eat it. Like you could develop the allergy, blah, blah, blah. And I hear that and I understand that. And the amount of anxiety that creates for me right now is frankly not worth it. So and that's a choice that I get to make. And I'm trying to be better about that. And I know there's many moms out there who are like, oh, I should do this, or we need to go to this family gathering where there's 30 people. And it's like, maybe you don't this year. It's like, and just trying to do that self-check to allow us some space to get a handle on this and to figure this out and to take steps. It doesn't mean we'll never go to the party. And we do, our family does go to the party, but I know for a lot of families that's really hard, especially in the beginning. So maybe you take a pass for that first time, and you go next time or whatever it is, to give yourself some space to actually grieve this, go through the emotions, figure out what you actually need to do to keep your kids safe, especially as that continues to change as they get older, and to give yourself, release yourself from the pressure of you should.
Yeah, shitting on yourself. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What about you, Katie? What do you do to nourish yourself?
Well, I think for a long time I had self-care confused with self-compassion, and we did a podcast with the two alpha gals. They have a In the Tall Grass, and they said something that really made me think, and I went back into their podcasts to take a look at it. But they had a podcast with Dr. Paige Freeman where they were talking about you can't do self-care until you first address self-compassion. And to me, that was mind-blowing. And so I think part of self-compassion for me personally is I go to therapy every week, and I have to address the anxiety and all of the things that I feel. And then part of that is addressing forgiveness for yourself, like processing through your triggers, feeling all of the emotions that you have, not actively stuffing them down and telling yourself, you'll be fine, get over it, like be
right.
strong, move past it, suck it up, buttercup, like all of these things that we're raised with in society and some, I would argue, American culture is not healthy for us. Like we have to process through our emotions. We have to actively heal from the things that we experience. And so one of the things that I really think is helpful for me right now is forgiving myself. I'm going to make mistakes. We all are. Like I need to be able to speak truth over myself and have healthy boundaries with other people, which is something that I've been working on for a long time. Like boundaries really are very important, and they will create your entire framework for life, especially if you're living with food allergies. So I think just having finding your people, finding safe places to share with others is very important. My therapist calls it getting your board of directors. Like you find your safe people, you get a board of directors, and these are the only people that you know are safe, and they're kind, and they're loving, and they have your best interests at heart. Those are the only people that get to speak into your life, and everybody else's opinions don't matter because they're not there to build you up necessarily. So I think for me, that's the biggest learning curve I've had in the past few years, is just learning to, I can't take care of my kids really as well as I want to if I'm not taking care of myself.
100%. Yeah, I think that that's huge, that we take care of ourselves, and boundaries. Boundaries, people are like, I don't know, I think I have good boundaries. Boundaries are just getting clear about what's okay with you and what's not. And then holding people accountable, including yourself, on that. It's, they can shift. It's not rigid. But it's holding those boundaries that are important to you. And I like the board of directors. I used to do that. And in my group therapy classes, groups, because, I said, you can bring, it's not just people, but the people, because this is a lot of shame and guilt. So two different things. We feel a lot of guilt, but also there can be shame wrapped up in there, which likes to be very insidious and hide. And shame, the way that I know to work with shame is to bring it to the light. But it can only be met by people who've earned the right to hear it. Like the people who are going to meet you with that compassion. So you're absolutely right, Katie. Like not everybody gets to hear it. And your board of directors, you keep bringing it to your board. But I also used to say, like, resources can come to the board. Like, what are your favorite books, or, other things like therapy? I was just thinking, I was like, I've had the same therapist for 11 years. So I run people. I'm like, therapy day, get out of the way. Because just to be companioned there when these things, so she's been with me through all of the old traumas, the new traumas, like all the things, and that's really helpful. And I don't know if there's other hope that we want to share as we're kind of wrapping up for people, that like it's important to take good care of yourself. It's important to have the boundaries. It's okay to say, no, we're taking a pass this year. Give yourself space. Doing something where you're not on duty, that it's just for you. All of those things feel very hopeful to me and helpful for people. Anything else that y'all think of?
I was thinking about how one of the things that's so important to me is I want my kids to know, and I want food allergy moms to know, I believe this for their kids too. Everybody has challenges in life, and every single person, they just all look a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our family's challenges, one of my kids' challenges is that they have food allergies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a part of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that challenges in life, although I wish more than anything, I could take this
That's a good
one
way.
away from my kids.
Right.
I really do, because of the consequences that unfortunately it medically does have. There's a seriousness to it, but I do think we grow in our challenges. I know that my kids already are growing in self-advocacy and confidence, and I think they're going to be really selective about friends who are really going to come around them. There's actually a beautiful post that another food allergy mom wrote basically on this topic, where she basically said there are some surprising side effects of growing up with food allergies that are really positive for your kids, and those things like basically she called it being peer pressure proof, because from a very young age they have to be like, no,
I don't eat that.
even to adults.
Right.
And so there are things in life that are hard, and everybody has them, but I think how we grow in them it can be really important and really good. And so I just want to encourage these families. It's like, I know this, I'll just say it sucks. Okay. It just does. Food allergies suck. And I'm excited about the advancements that they're making to hopefully someday maybe we are going to get a cure. I actually believe in our kids' lifetime we're going to be seeing a lot more treatments and therapies and things that are going to make it better. I really do. So I'd encourage them with that too. But if this is one of your family's challenges, there are things that will grow and encourage your kids in a way that maybe wouldn't have happened without it. Doesn't mean I want them to have it. Doesn't mean it should have happened. It sucks. But I believe that for my kids, they're going to live their best lives. Like, food allergies are not going to hold my kids back. They're going to live their best lives, and they're going to go and do great things. And it's just a part of who they are. And I can already tell you at 4 and 2 that the confidence that I'm seeing and the self-advocacy, even to mom, is already happening. So, and it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think one last piece that's really hopeful too is just from what Lauren and I see of our kids interacting with each other, there's so much compassion there already. There's so much understanding of, oh, my friend is similar to me. My friend has a food allergy, but realizing that they're different. And then just the other kids that we're interacting with, like I have a little girl that I watch during the day. She happens to be one of my best friends, kiddos. And she doesn't have any food allergies, but she knows about my children's food allergies, and she's very compassionate. And she'll ask me like, Auntie, did we check the labels on this? Is this food safe for everybody? And she's 3. What a wonderful thing to already have in the back of her head of making sure that her friends are safe and that they're included. I mean, it's beautiful. And so I'm with Lauren on that. We would never wish this on anyone. No. If we could take it away from our kids, we would. We would take it on ourselves. But there will be beautiful things that come from these struggles.
Yeah. My kids sit there and they have play food, and one of the hamburger buns has sesame seeds on it. It's all fake food.
Right.
So my kids will sit there and they'll say, well, Miss Katie's kids, we have to go find a safe bun for them. They can't have this one. And it's something that I know and I believe of food allergy kids is they're going to understand that being different is okay. And that sometimes we have to do things a little bit different, or somebody else might have to do things a little bit different. And I think instead of holding judgment for that, they'll actually hold compassion and maybe even curiosity. And I just think, man, if we had more of that, just in general, how different that would be.
Yes, I agree with all of that. And I'm in a different place because now I worry about, what if they're out there drinking and somebody gives them a cookie and they're like, Mom, please, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, bye. So it's a different place, but it hasn't held my kids back so far.
Yeah.
They live, great lives. And they are very much more, like we just, even to know safe, like, is that safe food for people? Is that safe for them? I think I just like that language. So, So I think there is a lot of hope. I also think these kids are going to change the world. And so this is just a piece of, their journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's our journey too, since we became the moms. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to both of you. I'm super grateful that you took the time to do this. I think the more we can help people understand that they're not alone and they have resources, the better. Yeah.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
It's been great.